Here in Singapore, Venerable Master Jing Kong is speaking on the Infinite Life Sutra, the Flower Adornment Sutra, and the treatise on response and retribution. It is easy to understand why he is speaking on the two sutras. The Infinite Life Sutra is the principal sutra for Pure Land practitioners. The Flower Adornment Sutra is helping us to better understand this principal sutra. But why lecture on the treatise on response and retribution? Teacher also spoke on Liao Fan's 4 lessons when he was in Australia a few weeks ago. Why these 4 books? For Buddhists, the answer is basic to our study. For non-Buddhists, the answer is necessary for understanding our world. Teacher is speaking on these because they tell of the laws of cause and effect, about how to bring about the good effects and how to hold back the bad. As we approach the end of this millennia, we are hearing more and more of upcoming disasters, possibly the end of our world. Prophecies from around the world speak of this unimaginable cataclysmic event. Most agree that it could happen in just a matter of months. But in all these prophecies, we hear very little about how we can change the future. Can destiny be changed? In the first talk on Liao Fan, we learned that yes, indeed, destiny can be recreated. We learned that the true cause of everything that happens to us arises from the 3 karmas of thought, speech, and behavior. And Liao Fan's 4 lessons teaches us how to change these. So even though it is not a Buddhist sutra, we need to praise, respect, and study it as if it was one. In the early part of this century, Master Yinguang, the 13th patriarch of the Pure Land School, dedicated his life to its promotion, and in the process oversaw the printing of millions of copies of it. From this, we can see how highly Master Yinguang regarded it. Not only did he unceasingly advocate this book, but he also did research on it, practiced it, and lectured on it. As Buddhists, we are taught to refrain from all that is bad, to do all that is good, to purify our minds. This is the Dharma seal. It is the criteria we can use to determine the genuineness of Buddhist teachings or truths. Buddhist sutras, which speak of principles and reasoning, are spoken by 5 types of people. Buddhas, in our case Buddha Shakyamuni, his students, heavenly beings, immortals, and manifested beings. As long as what has been said has the same meanings and objectives as the teachings of the Buddhas, The Buddhas, with their great broad-mindedness, would recognize them as sutras. Thus, we regard and respect as a sutra any work that conforms to the principles in Buddhism. And this is especially so for Liao Fan's 4 lessons. It can help to serve as our foundation for learning Buddhism. But even more important, it can also serve as a foundation for non-Buddhists in helping them learn to also change their destiny. The knowledge for recreating destiny, including principles, methods, and theories, are all contained within this book. It may be small in size, but its impact can be of major importance. Therefore, if we would like to change, to recreate our destiny, or to truly achieve attainment through the practice of Buddhism, we need to accord with the principles and methods within it. In the last talk, I explained that those who are destined to be rich in this life will be rich. Those who are destined to be poor will be poor. And those who are destined to die of starvation will die of starvation. Does heaven arrange this? Master Yuangu further explained, and this is a quote from the text, "Heaven does nothing more than punish those who are bad with the suffering they deserve, and reward those who are good with the good fortune they deserve." Bearing children is similar to bearing fruit from seeds. If the seeds are planted well, the fruits will flourish. If they are not, then the fruits will become malnourished. For example, if a person has accumulated enough merits and virtues for 100 generations, then he or she will have 100 generations. One who accumulates enough merits and virtues to last 10 generations will have descendants to last 10 generations. The same goes for 3 generations or 2 generations. For those who have no descendants at all, it is because they have not accumulated enough merits and virtues. They may have amassed offenses instead. End quote. This talks about the destiny in having or not having children. Ordinary people believe that our lives are arranged according to the will of heaven. But this is not exactly right. Everything that happens to us is a result of our thoughts, speech, and behavior. Heaven does not arrange it. Only the great sages and saints with true wisdom can see through to this truth. If we have accumulated enough merits and virtues for 100 generations, then we will have 100 generations of descendants. Great Master Ingguang often praised Confucius, who cultivated the virtue of 100 generations. Confucius constantly thought of benefiting the country and people without the slightest thought of self. He dedicated his whole life to education and passed on his ideals and aspirations to his students. He was the greatest educator in Chinese history. There have now been over 70 generations of Confucius descendants, and his current descendant, Mr. De Cheng Kong, is still respected by people around the world, not only by the Chinese, but others are particularly courteous and respectful, taking special care of him upon hearing that he is a descendant of Confucius. It becomes very evident that by planting good causes, good seeds, we reap and harvest good results. In Liao Fan's 4 lessons, we read that when we accumulate enough merits and virtues for 10 generations, we will have 10 generations of descendants to live out that good fortune. In Chinese histories, emperors would try to establish dynasties that were able to reign for many generations, like the Qing dynasty, the last dynasty in China, which lasted for 10 generations. But if their ancestors had not accumulated enough merits and virtues, then it would not have been possible. Today, people do not believe this. They think all they need is good political tactics and knowledge. But they are wrong. Virtues accumulated by our ancestors, plus our virtuous conduct from our own past lives, will result in having virtuous people being born into our family. Thus, its continuation will be assured. For instance, for how many generations will a family business last? In Taiwan, there is a chain of medical schools called the Universal Compassion Hall, which originated in Beijing. By the accumulation of merits and virtues, it has been in business for over 100 years and has been handed down through several generations. Compassionate ancestors whose driving force was to be able to keep the store going so they could help save lives began it. Unconcerned about profits, they only wanted to make enough money to be able to live very simply. So their goal was not to make a profit or to live a life of ease and comfort, but to benefit society and to help those who were suffering. With this objective, they were able to found a business that has lasted over 100 years. If the descendants do not deviate from their ancestors' objectives, this chain will continue indefinitely. They will not be like others who, lacking merits and virtues, found their businesses going bankrupt after only a few years. There may only be enough merits and virtues to last 2 or 3 generations of descendants. The Chinese say that there are 3 serious occurrences in being unfilial. having no future generations is the most critical. This is lacking in merit and virtue, to the point of not being able to have any descendants. In the past, people were extremely concerned about this, but today things are different. Many young couples do not even want to have children, thinking them too much trouble. Also, our society is different now from what happened in the past because we have social welfare. In many countries, who takes care of the elderly? The government does, with no need to rely on their children to provide for them when they become older. Many couples have decided they can do without children. They can retire at the age of 65 and collect Social Security from the government. This is even more filial than our own children. This is possible because the social welfare system is so much better than what transpired in the past. Before, the elderly could only rely upon their children for support, whereas now the current trend is towards having the government take care of the elderly. However, the law of cause and effect will not change. Just as one stores up grain against the lean years, one raises children against one's old age, has been a commonly held idea. Mr. Shi Ying-yo, in his commentary on Liao Fan's 4 lessons, examined the teachings of transcending this world. He said that those who transcend this world would consider the cultivation of ending desire and love, ridding themselves of illusion to obtain wisdom, and surpassing the ordinary to become a sage as the supreme merit and virtue. He added that regretfully, most people did not understand this level of attainment. The idea of raising children against old age still exists today. Usually, when young people generate the heart to become monks and nuns, their parents, relatives, and friends try to do their very best to stop them. They do not understand, for they think that, like before, not having a next generation is their biggest concern. Buddhism, however, looks into the 3 times of the past, present, and future. It sees and understands the truth of life and the universe. Most people only see a tiny portion of the universe, not the whole. Of the entire universe, they have only witnessed the human realm. Of the human realm, they only see the present, neither the past nor the future. Therefore, they are unable to see as clearly as Buddhas and Bodhisattvas do. When someone in a family becomes a monk or a nun, it is truly the most joyful occasion, the most outstanding pursuit. However, in renouncing worldly life, we must practice earnestly. For if we do not achieve while our families will not suffer. We will fall into the 3 bad realms. In Buddhism, it is often said, 1 grain of rice from the donor is as great as Mount Sumeru. Not transcending the cycle of birth and death in this lifetime consigns us to become an animal to pay back the debt. This is obviously very serious, for it is extremely difficult to transcend the cycle of birth and death. As Pure Land practitioners, we have to achieve a certain level of attainment to be born into the Western Pure Land to transcend the cycle of reincarnation. On the other hand, Theravada practitioners need to at least reach the level of stream enterer. This is achieved by severing wrong views. It is the first of the 4 stages of sainthood in Theravada Buddhism. By attaining the fruit of non-returning, we will be considered a sage. At this point in achievement, we will continue to be born into the human and heaven realms. And in this way, we are assured of attaining the state of Arhat, although it may take a very long time to do so. But by not falling into the 3 bad realms, we are considered to have achieved attainment. According to this criterion, the minimum standard to achieve attainment in Mahayana Buddhism is to rid ourselves of a portion of our attachments, to sever the 88 kinds of deviated thoughts and viewpoints. If we cannot rid ourselves of these deviated thoughts and viewpoints, then we have simply not achieved. But if we do achieve this, then in the Mahayana teachings we reach the initial belief stage. Not accomplishing this will find us still reincarnating within the 6 realms, still paying back our debts. For monks and nuns, this means we will have to pay back each and every offering from the 10 directions that we enjoyed during the time that we were monks and nuns. These offerings were not given without expectation of reward. We have to pay them back. If we are able to achieve the levels of stream enterer or to sever the 88 kinds of improper thoughts and viewpoints, for Theravada and Mahayana practitioners respectively, those who made the offerings will receive the benefits of good fortune. Then there is no need for us to pay them back, because they have harvested from the fields of merit. But for us, there is still another way to seek birth into the Western Pure Land. Otherwise, achievement is not possible. If we cannot go to the Pure Land, then we have achieved nothing. Seeking birth into the Pure Land is actually much simpler than severing the 88 kinds of improper thoughts and viewpoints. To be born into the Pure Land, it is not necessary to sever these, for we carry our remaining karma with us to the Pure Land. As long as we have true confidence, the sincere vow, the proper conduct, are honestly mindful of Buddha Amitabha, everyone will achieve attainment. We see this very clearly in the Infinite Life Sutra and in the Amitabha Sutra. Therefore, when generating the heart to renounce worldly life and become monks and nuns, we must attain achievement. From the book. Now that you recognize your own shortcomings, you need to put forth your utmost efforts into working to change and reforming your misdeeds, which cause you not to have a child or to become an imperial officer. You would do well to cultivate virtue and tolerance, and to treat others with compassion and harmony. Also, care for your health and conserve your energy and spirit. End quote. This is the method that the Master taught Mr. Liao Fan in changing his destiny, to take the right steps to correct his bad habits and shortcomings. Since he knew his shortcomings, the Master taught him to do his utmost in changing his ways and reforming. Mr. Yo said in his commentary that we each have our own faults and weaknesses. But if we can calmly analyze ourselves and find them one by one, then we have our starting point. So changing our ways and reforming is true cultivation. It is by no means simply the formality of reciting sutras, prostrating before the Buddha, or chanting mantras. To cultivate our whole life and to still be mired in the 6 realms of reincarnation is to have simply gone through the formalities. Their purpose is to remind us of the teachings, for others to see and exemplify these teachings, and to help bring forth awakening in others. For self-cultivation, however, importance is not placed on the formalities, but rather on discovering our faults. This is awakening. To correct our own faults is to achieve in cultivation. Therefore, the most important point is for us to be perfectly calm, introspective, and watchful over our own conduct as we search out each and every one of our bad habits and faults. By knowing these, we will know where to start, what to correct, and how to proceed. We can then concentrate and use all our energy to reform. The following are some examples of this from Mr. Yo's commentary. quote. We can change from a miserly and greedy person to become one who generously gives to those in need. End quote. For example, if we are miserly, we are not willing to give what we have to others. If we are greedy, we are always trying to possess what we do not have. If we find that we are habitually doing this, we can change ourselves into generous people who help those in need by practicing giving. This will successfully modify our behavior. What I have and others do not, I can freely give to them upon request. Or better yet, when I see others have a need, I can simply give it to them. This is the cultivation of good fortune. There are 3 types of giving: wealth, teaching, and fearlessness. The giving of teaching is practiced when we help others by using our skill, our wisdom, to teach others. What others are not good at, and we are, we can enthusiastically teach to them, to enable them to have this ability, to awaken their wisdom. This is the giving of teaching. The giving of fearlessness is helping others to be calm and serene in both body and mind. It is to help relieve their uneasiness, their fears. For example, if someone is afraid to walk home at night, and if we are able, we can accompany him or her, then they will no longer be apprehensive. Today, many young people serve in the military. This is another form of the giving of fearlessness. Why? Soldiers protect a country and keep peace by not allowing harm or invasion by outside forces. We can see that the scope of these kinds of giving are extensive. The Buddha tells us that with the giving of wealth, we attain wealth. With the giving of teaching, we attain teaching, intelligence, and wisdom. With the giving of fearlessness, we gain health and longevity. In many countries, we see another form of the giving of fearlessness, that of freeing captured animals. However, we also see many improper practices which have come about as a result of this giving. Because so many people have wanted to free them, some people have gone into the business of capturing more animals. Freeing animals in this way is not the giving of fearlessness, but subjects them to harm. If we do not set them free, others will not capture them. We would do well to understand so that our kind hearts will not inadvertently lead us to commit wrongdoings. The proper way to practice this giving of fearlessness is to free animals that we find in the food market when we are shopping. We do so in the knowledge that they will be able to survive once they are freed. This is compassion and kindness, for it is saving those who are suffering. However, there are also many pet shops which sell animals that were domestically raised, and therefore they would be unable to survive in the wild. If they were set free, they would die, and all of our good intentions would be turned into offenses. So we need to be aware of the consequences of everything we do. When we occasionally do find animals in a food market and buy them to set them free, the proper way to do so is to chant the 3 refuges of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and to chant the Buddha's name. In this way, we are saving their lives as well as planting the seeds for their future cultivation. The commentary talks about changing from an angry, agitated, resentful person to one who is calm, peaceful, quiet. This talks about our disposition. Easily giving into anger, easily becoming hostile, is a major fault. Mr. Liao had this fault. So the Master encouraged him to transform himself into being serene and tranquil, to being even-tempered. With a calm and peaceful mind, our disposition will naturally be gentle and warm. Both Buddha Shakyamuni and Confucius stressed this important quality of our virtue. The students of Confucius praised his 5 virtues of gentility, kindness, respectfulness, thriftiness, and humility. He was known for being gentle, kind, respectful, and discreet towards everyone and everything. Confucius was thrifty and did not live an extravagant life, but rather one of simplicity. He was courteous and humble. He never argued and always accorded with others. Confucius was himself a model of moral excellence. Quote, "To change from a person who exaggerates and is boastful to one who is modest and practical." End quote. When we know someone who exaggerates, we automatically doubt everything he or she says. It is difficult for people like this to win the confidence of others, because essentially he or she is dishonest. Therefore, we should never exaggerate or boast, but be modest and honest in all that we say and do. Quote, "To change from a person who is flighty and impatient to one who is settled and stable." End quote. We would do well to be composed and concentrated, to be poised and calm. In this way, we will attain purity of mind. Quote, "To change from a person who is arrogant and insolent to one who is modest and courteous." End quote. There really is nothing to be arrogant about. Why? If we have accomplished something successfully, it is our duty, something we ought to have done. If we did not accomplish it successfully, then we should be criticized and corrected and told how to improve. Buddhas and Bodhisattvas respect everyone and everything. Confucius and Mencius respected everyone and everything. However, we fall far behind them in achievement or understanding. Therefore, we need to treat others with respect, courtesy, and humility. These are virtues of our nature. Quote, to change from a person who is indolent and lazy to one who is diligent and resolute. End quote. Being lethargic and lazy are great afflictions. One who has these bad habits will not succeed in anything. Therefore, we would do well to be diligent, purposeful, and energetic. One of Buddha Shakyamuni's students, Anuruddha, was known for his laziness. After being reproached by the Buddha, he resolved to go without sleep for 7 days and 7 nights. Due to his enthusiastic diligence, however, he damaged his vision. The Buddha compassionately taught him a form of illuminating the diamond of delightful observation samadhi, a form of deep concentration. It enabled him to see far better than before. As a result, he was able to see one Buddha land, which is comprised of 1 billion galaxies. We too need to be inspired with enthusiasm and determination. When we are lazy, we accomplish nothing. Not only are we unable to attain achievement in our practice and learning of Buddhism, but we will also fail to accomplish anything in our daily lives. Ancient times or today, in the East or in the West, anytime, everywhere, no one has become successful through laziness. Diligence is the only good route for Mahayana and Theravada practitioners. To change from a person who is merciless and cruel to one who is kind and compassionate. To change from a person who is cowardly and fearful to one who is brave and motivated. To be cowardly and timorous is another serious fault. Thus, we would do well to overcome it and to work diligently and resolutely. Mr. Liao himself admitted to having these faults. Again, each of us would do well to be like him, to correct and reform each and every one of our faults. Next, Master Yuan Gu taught Mr. Liao several essential points for his cultivation. From the book. You need to cultivate virtue and tolerance, and to treat others with compassion and harmony. also to care for your health and conserve your energy and health and your spirit." End quote. First, the Master encouraged Mr. Liao Fan to accumulate merit by ending his erroneous ways and cultivating good deeds. This is the foundation for improvement, whether in Buddhism or worldly teachings. If we do not earnestly accumulate merits and virtues by refraining from all wrongdoing and practicing all forms of kindness, how can we hope to be those who have thousands of dollars, or those who have accumulated enough merit and virtue for 100 generations? An entire country respected Confucius. An entire world respected Buddha Shakyamuni. The former accumulated great merits of this world. The latter accumulated great merits of the universe. Second, we need to be tolerant of others, to broaden our minds, our hearts. If not, then we will be tormented with more afflictions, which will present further obstacles to our cultivation. We cultivate awakening, proper thoughts and viewpoints, and purity of mind. If we cannot attain purity of mind, then we will not be awakened, which would result in deviated thoughts and viewpoints. Proper thoughts and viewpoints and great enlightened thoughts rely on the foundation of purity of mind. Therefore, we need to be able to tolerate others. There is no need to take things too seriously. No need to be critical of anything. As we learn in the Diamond Sutra, everything is like a dream, an illusion, bubbles, a drop of dew. We need to understand that nothing is real. Existence is like a cloud. From a distance it appears real, but when we pass through it, it is nothing. There is nothing worthy of dispute. There is nothing worthy of anger. There is no point in dwelling on anything, for this will only hinder our cultivation. There is every point in being peaceful, gentle, and loving. Being not so was Mr. Liao Fan's biggest problem. We need to practice loving kindness and compassion for everyone and everything. The Buddha taught that these are non-discriminatory, are equally held for all. Confucius taught of loving kindness. He explained that the benevolent person has no enemies. If we still have feelings of hostility, then we are neither kind nor compassionate. Conflicts and hostility simply do not exist within the heart of loving kindness. It is the same as the great compassion of the Buddhas. Different people, different words, same meaning. This is what we need to learn and practice, to truly benefit ourselves, to benefit others. Pure Land Sutras tell us of one mind undisturbed. This state is unattainable if anything exists in conflict. To have conflict is to be of two minds, to have something that needs to be confronted, to be thought of. The sixth patriarch, Master Huineng, said that originally our true mind contained nothing. If the mind still clings to even one wandering thought, then it is not the true mind, but a false one. If the mind is pure, if the mind is at peace, then it will not have any conflicting thoughts. Without any conflicting thoughts, the true mind can be uncovered. Purity of mind can arise, and this is how we attain one mind undisturbed. The states of one mind undisturbed and constant mindfulness of Buddha Amitabha start from here. In constant mindfulness of Buddha Amitabha, initially the mind remembers the Buddha and does not forget. Then, after prolonged cultivation, we constantly contemplate the Buddha. If we have been chanting the Buddha's name for many years and have not yet reached the state of constant mindfulness, we need to determine where the problem lies and correct it. When we have no more obstacles, we will be able to achieve this state, which will assure us of achieving birth into the Pure Land. Regardless of the state of cultivation we have achieved, we will know when we have achieved it. There is no need to ask another. When we are born into the Pure Land through the state of constant mindfulness, we will be born into the land where both sages and ordinary beings live together. With a state of one mind undisturbed in mindfulness, we will be born into the land where everything is temporary. With a state of one mind undisturbed in enlightenment, we will be born into the land of real reward. The level of achievement we attain will determine which land we will be born into. There are different levels also in the state of constant mindfulness. Thus, there are 9 levels of birth. People who are born into the higher 3 levels are able to pass away whenever they wish, are able to decide when they will die. At that time, they can go without any illness and may be standing or seated. If they do not feel like leaving this world yet, they can stay longer to help others. Everything can be achieved at will. People who are born into the middle 3 levels of birth are able to know a few months in advance when they are going to pass away. Again, they may leave this world standing or seated. in the lower level, people will know several days in advance of their death when they will leave, but they may become ill. People reaching the level of one mind undisturbed have even higher abilities than constant mindfulness. There are two levels of one mind undisturbed. One is in mindfulness. The other is in enlightenment. Whichever it is not achievable by ordinary people like us in one lifetime, whereas constant mindfulness is. Therefore, in this lifetime, we can attain the state of constant mindfulness in which we will have the ability to pass away at ease, to leave whenever we wish. This is to be born into the Pure Land, where both ordinary beings and sages live, into the higher three realms of birth, and to carry our remaining karma with us. The Master told Mr. Liao that he should care for his health and conserve his energy and his spirit. Because Mr. Liao liked to sit up all night and did not know how to take care of himself, he needed to pay special attention to safeguarding his health and energy. From the book. Live as though everything of the past dissolved yesterday, and all the future begins today. If you can accomplish this, then you are a person born anew, a person of virtue and sincerity. End quote. Everything that happened yesterday, our thoughts, words, and deeds are in the past. Do not dwell on them. Do not regret what has happened. Because if we do, it is as if we have committed them again. And this will only leave additional impressions in our alaya consciousness, which is our store consciousness, the thought database from all our past and present lives, good or bad. Therefore, let bygones be bygones, and do not think of them again. The important thing is to correct what is in the present, what will be in the future. Doubts and regrets are afflictions, which are conditions or causes of pain, the distress and suffering which disturb the body and mind. The Buddha taught us not to dwell on the past. It is stated in Mr. Shi Ying Yo's commentary that this is the key to changing destiny for people of perfection. These beings have achieved higher levels of wisdom and awakening.